the series of the webinar with the 6 presentations of very interesting and different examples that the speakers will be sharing. If you missed the first part, that was on the 19th of September 2025, you can find the recording on the YouTube channel of the Balkan Museum Network. We are very happy for the generosity of today's speakers, who will share their experience and work and everything that they learned through the process of implementing these interesting projects. We did not have space in the program of our annual International Museum Conference called Meet-See-Do, so we offered to our colleagues this way of presentation, and thank you for accepting to share your work in an online format. It really means a lot that we can have more information about practices and methodologies and approaches and strategies, also different topics that people are dealing with throughout the Balkan region. So today we will have Edona Rugova, Adela Železnik, and Iryna Stepanova. The first speaker is Adela Rugova. She is going to talk about visions to landmark, sharing her experience of making Mother Teresa Museum in Prizren. Edona Rugova is a cultural heritage professional and project manager at Cultural Heritage Without Borders, Kosovo. She has more than a decade of experience on numerous heritage initiatives across Kosovo and the region, including the establishment of Mother Teresa Museum in Prizren. She's in her work blending strategic leadership with creative storytelling, but also curating exhibitions, developing successful accessibility strategies for different heritage sites, fostering cross-border cultural cooperation. She has a Master in Arts and extensive contribution to several publications on cultural heritage, so you can find her articles that she has written to share her work. Edona, thank you for being today with us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Aida. So yes, I am Edona Rugova, currently in CHWB Kosovo. Not to take much of your time, I will start immediately to share my screen, my presentation. Let me know if you can all see it. Okay, yes, I'm going to go full screen. Okay, is it full screen? Okay.
It is, thank you.
So we can begin. So Mother Teresa's Museum in Prizren. We will start talking about firstly the building and the architecture and the location of the museum. The initial development of the museum, it was built in the historic center of protected zone in Prizren, Kosovo, which is the area in red on the map in the picture. And it was completed in 2011, financed by the Ministry of Culture and Youth of Kosovo. The object is owned by the municipality of Prizren, but it was built by the Ministry of Culture. And later in the presentation, I will tell you why this was a bit of a problem during the process of establishing the museum. When it was built, there was no operational plan by local or central institutions, and it was a lot of damage done by the time we, as CHWB Kosovo, took charge of functionalizing the museum. The efforts to function...
Sorry, Edona. Sorry, Edona, you are muted.
So you didn't hear anything I talked till now?
No, we did just this slide when you started about
this one.
The function. Yes.
Okay, so this one. Okay, the functionalization efforts began in 2019-2022 through IPA cross-border project on the trail of Mother Teresa with Kosovo and North Macedonia. The municipality of Prizren and CHWB Kosovo signed an agreement, through which the museum started to be rebuilt and reconstructed. The municipality of Prizren took charge of building the elevator inside the building for accessibility, which the building didn't have this one, and CHWB took charge of the other most cost, like also heating that was not in the building. Renovations finished on 2022, but even though the museum was ready to be functionalized and open for the public in terms of having a curator and or a museologist to give content to the museum, it remained closed until this year. These are some pictures of before and after of the process. The building was in a very bad state when we took over it, but now it's like a whole new building. When it came to the content, because it was built without a curatorial vision or no museologist was consulted in terms of how it should be designed and spaces for where the spaces for exhibition or content should be designated to, the efforts to get the content and to organize and curate an exhibition were really challenging for our team. So we had an open call for artifact collections, which was put online because it was the time of pandemic. So but while the works on the building were going on, we also put an open call so that people would come forward if they had any artifacts related to Mother Teresa, because she used to visit many times Kosovo or the region in Macedonia, and since we were a cross-border cooperation project, we also were hoping that someone from Macedonia also will come forward with artifacts, which did not happen because of pandemic. Only a few people came forward with artifacts, and it was difficult to meet people, which led to no cost project extension due to pausing all work during the pandemic, which also led to increase of market prices, which led to limited funds, which led to a different kind of problem in this phase, which we started to tackle immediately by trying to take steps to recover. So we put a curating team together to design the exhibition museums based on what we had gathered so far, which was letters from a few priests that had met Mother Teresa and were willing to give us copies of the letters, and was based on photographs that we could buy online through different sources. And so the curating team was put together and a designer to design the exhibition. This is sort of a mood board that we got, like an inspiration of how the museum we would like the museum to look and be presented. A timeline for the exhibition also was created, and a historian was hired to fact check everything that we gathered, the information, the years, the life, the documents and everything, so that it can be authenticated as true. And after this, the municipality of Prizren financed all the inventory and the exhibition content, which included the photo licenses that we bought online and from a few artists, and the letters that we bought from a few people to be part of the exhibition. After this, since the exhibition was already done, the legitimacy was in question of the museum, since, as I said in the beginning, the museum was financed, the building was financed and built by the Ministry of Youth. The ownership of the building, of the ground it was built onto, was of municipality of Prizren. So this year in 2024, between municipality of Prizren, Ministry of Youth and Sports of Kosovo and CHWB, an MOU was signed that would create collaboration between all three of us, and which would mean that we would be working on establishing the museum officially, because it didn't yet have a document on which it would be an official museum and be called officially a museum. So this was established, and the museum board was established, and a lot of meetings were held. We do not get in. We don't need to get into that because this took a whole year. But basically, legal establishment was finalized finally in March 2025, and it was decided that museum would be a local museum, and it will remain the museum in the municipality of Prizren. So not a central state museum, but a local municipal museum. After this, we should be talking about the content here a bit. So since that time, the whole process from the building when it was built to the legal establishment to the content, the museum was finally open to the public. First opening was in 2022, but without staff and without someone to keep the museum open, and without funding, it couldn't be remaining open. But through this year, because CHWB signed that document with the Ministry of Youth and Municipality of Prizren, since February it's opened, and the Swedish government is financing a minimum staff that is keeping the museum open. There's a girl who's there keeping the museum open, and a coordinator who deals with educational activities, which goes into children's and school program. And we have a yearly activity that goes on even when the museum was closed. We used to organize this again and again, because it's a week of Mother Teresa, which includes the date of her birth until the date of her passing. This is a program, one of the programs in the right of the pictures of the activities. What is the content is a semi-permanent exhibition. Why it's semi-permanent? Because of, as I said, when the building was designed, no curator or museologist was consulted. So the exhibition spaces are a bit tricky to be used within the building. So we did the best we can for it to be more usable in terms of having removable content. So in case we need the wall for a bigger exhibition or for something else to be there, it would be easy to either be covered up or to be removed. So it's not a long-term solution, but it is better than leaving it blank or not being the museum being closed at all. So this is a semi-permanent exhibition that was designed with a curator from Manchester and the designer, and also CHWB team. It turned out pretty well considering the circumstances of the time and the pandemic and the way everything had to be put together. These are all pictures that are collected from either people or bought online, as I said when we had the call to gather content. It starts from the first floor, which is this one, and it starts from her childhood to her to the second floor, when it starts with her travels to India, where she became a missionary, and then all through the third floor with her Nobel Prize and what she's known to the world these days in India and her humanitarian mission. Until now, so what has been done? Staff is keeping the museum open. There are, as I said, including me and CHWB, but mostly me as managing staff, and the girl that keeps the museum open, and the local coordinator in Prizren is already settled and is being financed by the government of Sweden. We have social media that we're trying to get as much fees as possible, because it's a new museum, and an online presence is everything nowadays, it seems. So we also printed leaflets and visibility materials, which turned out pretty successful because they are being sold a lot, especially bought from tourists in the museum. You will see some pictures of those also in a bit. We have a board that is active and stakeholder meetings. We announce the museum in tour operators, so you can find it in all their websites. So it's a destination included in all festivals that go around in Kosovo and everywhere in Prizren. You can find the museum there also as a landmark to be visited. And we have the education program, which is basically focused on children right now because of limited funding. So we have activities with children where they can learn through coloring or games about heritage and about Mother Teresa. What is next? So far, what's been done has been pretty successful, but we need to have sustainability, right, for the museum to keep going on. So we need to plan on long-term museum program. We only had this year, since we opened, we had a short-term program. We had a few activities which seemed to be successful, but we need a 3-year program minimum, which should be a good program that would establish where the funding would come from, the staff, the activities that would keep the museum sustainable. The statute of the museum has not been established yet, which is something that is work in progress. It's already begun. The statute would regulate everything in terms of legitimacy, the legal part of it. So how many staff would it need, how many the budget that it would need, the intervention, the security, all the technical things that would be regulated with the statute, but it's something that would take more time because a law for museums is already being worked on in central institutions, so it needs to go parallel with that. So no double work would be done on this. And then we will establish the ticketing system for the museum, the funding. Since it's established as a museum, it needs to be registered, the statute should be done, it should be over with, and everything would be ready then for the museum to be able to apply for projects and funding. Because right now it can only go through with NGOs, which is basically us, or maybe after our collaboration with the Ministry of Prizren, maybe another NGO, but that's not sustainable. It should have its own funding staff that would be its own staff that would do the fundraising, basically. And autonomy. This would give the museum a bit of autonomy to prepare and to organize more the activities based on the funding that they have, which is sort of a chain reaction to everything that would be achieved in this what's next column. Statistics so far, since it was opened on February, it has had 2,509 visitors, 7 activities, which mostly include children, 1 major activity, which is the Week of Mother Teresa. One of the main activities that made a bit of more noise was the screening of the first time screening in Kosovo La Voce movie, The Voice, where also an Albanian from Prizren plays Bekim Femiu. Most of you maybe heard of him, maybe not, but he was very famous as a movie star back in ex-Yugoslavia. So it was kind of a premiere and it was very well received. We also had panel discussions during the week, children's activities, and promoting visibility and promotional materials that ended up to be really liked from people and are still being sold, and maybe we will have to print again some of them. So this is also a good income for the museum for like technical spendings and for the staff of the museum. Also statistics to hired staff. So this is the social media of Mother Teresa. We still only have very little followers, only 92 on Facebook. So it's really a baby museum so far. And also on Instagram, we try to keep it very active with every time there's a visitor. And also we've had good media coverage so far, but there's always to be done more on this part. These are a few pictures of the activities so far and visits from people. So I don't know how am I with time. Maybe I went too fast with this, but I am open for questions in case I skipped a few important parts, but I think so far I've covered quite what I meant to cover, yes.
Yes, thank you, Edona. I've encouraged participants to ask questions, but until we are waiting, I don't see any raised hands. I just wondered, how do you plan to do this strategic planning process? You mentioned the 3-year plan that will define your vision, mission, and objectives. I'm particularly interested in the aspects of cross-border collaboration, because there's a lot of potential in the region. Also, educational program that you already say that you're developing with schools, and this participatory approach that you tried to have when you were inviting people to contribute to the collection. So do you already maybe know, because it's complicated? You mentioned that you have like 3 parties, municipality, ministry of youth.
It's very, especially since it's like, why us? Why an NGO is taking over a museum? That's because there is no law for museums yet in Kosovo. This is where we find the loop, because we have the funding that the municipality doesn't, and the ministry doesn't have to spare. So we have the funding, and since we already started this in 2019 and we're already familiar with the process, we reached out to them about functionalizing it, since it was already, the exhibition was there, the building is there, the elevator, the accessibility, the heating. It's a new building basically, and it's not being used with a fully completed exhibition. So because of the lack of this law, we could, because otherwise they would have to have an open call for NGOs to apply to manage this. And also the museum didn't have a statute yet, and it wasn't established yet legally. So we done that part, but because of this collaboration and the signed agreement, now we are in charge of this year. How do we plan to do the strategic program, basically the operational program, or however do you want to call it? We are planning just now in October. We had a meeting in May, if I'm not wrong. We set we made a draft document on where we should base the operational strategy, but we decided that we should include more than only institutions. We should include other NGOs and other groups of interest, whether they are tourist operators or other NGOs. In Prizren, you have many such NGOs that deal with culture and heritage and tourism. So bring them all together. And we've done this before, and it's resulted very successful in Peja with a cultural hub, and now it's very active. And we are planning to apply that sort of technique and method here too. So we are planning to invite all those stakeholders or groups of interest and work on a maybe SWOT or some method that would identify the strongest points that museums, the biggest potential of museums, and the weaknesses and the risks, and just assess the whole situation. And then most probably, as we've done before, we usually hire an expert that will write, based on the outcomes of these workshops and working groups, based on outcomes of these works, they will write a program and a strategic program that museum would follow. As you had also the question of participatory.
But you just explained it.
It's
going to be a participatory process of making strategies.
So it's it's a bit also hard to include so many people. Right now, we've had a lot of success with pupils and children. Youth is a bit more tricky to be engaged. For that, we need a bit more extra funding and maybe something more special, something educational and innovative, and that can be mixed with heritage. And it doesn't have to be always only about Mother Teresa because it's a museum, but it can be as a engaging community space where youth, children, and even we have a few ideas to also include the elderly as a storytelling between generations, publishing, story collecting ideas. So we'll see also about that to include that in activities.
Well, good luck. We will follow the development of the project, and
Please
if it's okay, if it's okay with you and also Adela and Iryna to share your email addresses,
Yes.
because people might want to reach out for follow-up.
Yes.
Because now the time is limited and they might be interested to know more. So.
Okay, I will put it on the chat here. My
you.
email address, and anyone who needs to contact me for whatever reason, more info or collaborations, please don't hesitate. Thank you.
And we are moving on to our second presentation. Adela Železnik will talk about threads of solidarity and care as an example of collaboration between a female collective, museum, but also how personal and institutional relationships intertwine. Adela is a senior curator and a museum counselor. She has been working with the Moderna Galleria, the modern gallery in Ljubljana, since 1993. From 2011 at the Museum of Contemporary Art Metelkova as a curator for public programs. Her fields of interest are contemporary art and its context, collaborative practices, and a museum in relation to the community. From 2015 to 2020, she has been engaged in the activities with migrants and asylum seekers in Ljubljana and coordinated activities of a museum cafe Cantina run by the local community of migrants. Adela Železnik is one of the authors and the co-author of the publication, The Constituent Museum, an e-publication from two letters and from two constituent museum. She will tell us more about her work in the presentation. After the presentation, you can ask questions, but during the presentation also you can write your questions in the chat. Adela, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I see some familiar faces. I'm glad, and thank you, Ida, for this extensive presentation of, I didn't know. But anyway, I'm just going to the I'm just focusing. Is it working or not?
You're still not sure sharing?
Yeah, but it will. It will. It worked before, so it should work now as well. I wonder why.
We have a backup option. We can be showing the presentation, but it's easier if you do it because
I can see it, but I don't know why that it doesn't, because it did work before, and I don't know why. But I think this is it now. At least it shows that I did it, is it?
Yes, you're sharing the screen. So now
okay, perfect.
The
Thank
PowerPoint.
you. I'm sorry for all this. Anyway,
no problem.
So
It's a good.
Yes. So I'm going to present my really long-term friendship and collaboration with No Border Craft. And No Border Craft is a self-organized collective of female migrant women of different origins, nationalities, and statuses who meet every Tuesday and crochet. And if this presentation happened in a real space, we would all sit together and probably crochet or at least fold the threads and bands. But so this is it. Since this is not the case, I'm showing you this video to hopefully recreate the atmosphere which might happen in sort of real time and space. So this is a recorded action of unreeling the knots of wool threads, which were part of an installation by Iryna Stepanova, an artist from Montenegro. The work was shown 3 years ago at the exhibition Art at Work, which problematized the precarious work of artists, especially women. The artist's idea was that dismantling of her work should be done by someone who needs extra money and be properly paid. So I invited New Border Craft because I knew this was not an easy task. The work demanded patience and coordination of hands that are used to work together. They did it well and also enjoyed it. But they still remember it was quite a challenge. So I'm continuing with the PowerPoint. A No Border Craft Collective was initiated in 2017 at the Social Center Rock, part of the abandoned bicycle factory in Ljubljana, which was taken over by activists, cultural workers, and other collectives who proclaimed it as an autonomous factory rock. Social Center Rock was primarily meant for socializing and political organizing of disempowered and marginalized social groups and individuals whose workers, civic and human rights were violated. The activists worked on problematics of social inequality and exclusion, economic exploitation, racial and other forms of discrimination, and basically did the social work that the state and the city institutions were supposed to do. The role of the Social Center was especially important from 2015 afterwards, when the so-called Balkan migratory route expanded to Slovenia's state borders. The activists at the Rock Factory were the first, for a long time, the only initiatives who offered constant help to the refugees and organized solidarity protests, such as Refugees Welcome, etc. So No Border Craft succeeded to build a firm social network between migrant women and local residents in Ljubljana. The idea of a group of female members stemmed from the belief that crocheting would be a way of socializing of women who often come from patriarchal societies and take care of small children, and to do it in a safe way on the one side, and an opportunity for alternative economy by offering their handcraft products on the other. So they organize these No Border Craft bazaars. So I met them through a student of architecture who worked in our museum as a guard, and I joined them at the Social Center Rock. So this is me, trying to unroll the slips and bands, because I really prefer those than crocheting. But I immediately liked the sense of solidarity and genuine care of each other, which was rather unique in a competitive art and cultural world I knew. So in 2021, when the users of the Rock Factory were brutally evicted by the mayor of Ljubljana, you know that we have a very neoliberal mayor, who pulled the building down and turned it into a profitable center of creative industry called Center Rock, which meant that No Border Craft have to move their regular meetings out of the city center, close to the refugee asylum center, and on the premises of the Slovene Philanthropy, which is like a voluntary organization. So this was the time when they finally accepted my invitation to come to the museum. On the left, you can see one of the first bazaars that were organized at the Museum of Contemporary Art. There is one of the later here out of the museum on the museum plaza. And then you also see that the workshops, crocheting workshops that we organized at the Moderna Galleria as part of public program of the feminist exhibition For Your Pleasure. The collective, however, never abandoned their political engagement and activities. On the right, you can see a legendary bicycle, which was part of every pro-Palestinian protest in Ljubljana. And they regularly produce gadgets such as earrings, key rings, water bottle wraps, and all sorts of small bags in the shape and colors of a watermelon, which are sold at bazaars to support Palestine and people in Gaza. I always saw No Border Craft as collective, as friends, not as a group, very suitable to fill my museum agenda. However, I realized how important handwork is to bring people together and activate, to remind the underrepresented groups that they have power, not only crocheting, but also embroidery, which was traditionally often used by women to protest in a more subtle, indirect way. So we organized, for the first time, we organized embroidery workshop in 2019 within the Azra Akshamias project at the exhibition Sarajevo Documenta at the Moderna Galleria. This was the last big collective exhibition happened in Sarajevo just before Yugoslavia fell apart. And with this, so we see here Azra, who is explaining the workshop to participants. Her embroidered map, that was called Digesting Dayton. Here is the map of Bosnia after the Dayton Agreement. And we wanted also with these workshops somehow to connect the experiences of the two generations of migrants. So the migrants from the 1990s and the ones from the present. Since we as an institution always connected our exhibitions and other activities to our local geopolitical context, which is among these also former Yugoslavia, we always saw our role as a progressive institution, which shouldn't be politically and socially neutral. So we organized and are still organizing many activities in support of Palestine. So we started a series of screening. You know that at the beginning it was organized by the Palestinian organization. So we see this screening. We started it just with a screening of a documentary of Stitching Palestine, which is like testimonies of 12 women in Palestine who gather and they keep the memory of the lost country with embroidering and with stitching. And this January, we invited Nur Shantou, a Palestinian artist who was banned from the Vienna University because of their, attitude towards the Palestinian students. So Nur uses Palestinian embroidery to create contemporary embroidered works that reflect social and political challenges of the region. So in this workshop, her participants learned about the history of Palestinian embroidery in relation to protest and to the anti-imperialist feminist movement in Palestine. So No Border Craft participated also in this, with also a lot of other participants. So they contributed those very beautiful patterns for the protest dress. And you can see the example. So Nur will make a dress with all those samples afterwards. And I'm finishing this presentation with the latest of the programs that we are collaborating at the Museum of Contemporary Art, Metelkova. And this is the program called Models of Coexistence. So this is the logo. The program is an attempt to open the museum to different and less controlled activities that are done in collaboration in collaboration with art students, young musicians, and No Border Craft. It is their program which we support financially and logistically. And I'm very often asked, why organizing arts and craft workshop in an art museum? And I'm answering that I strongly believe that doing something together activates body and mind. No Border Craft workshops always welcome everyone, not only women who want to join and learn how to crochet. Moreover, the last embroidery workshop with Nurshantu was especially popular with young people. They said they came because they miss spaces where they can just be together and talk about meaningful things, apart from digital distractions like TikTok and the kind. So it is obvious that in this more and more alienated world, when fake news and AI are constantly challenging our beliefs and sense of truth and justice, it is very important that we do not lose our physical presence of being together. And museum can and should provide those spaces. So thank you. These are my contacts. So
Thank you very much for this inspirational talk, presentation, and example. You have said so many important things, emphasizing the role of a museum in society, which is not a neutral space. And I was wondering about the feedback that you received from your key stakeholders, like funders, media, audience, maybe some other partners, other museums on the level of museum association. I'm sure there was both positive and negative feedback. And I'm also wondering how you are collecting this feedback in terms of also participants. Are you maybe doing interviews with the women who are taking part, just to take some quotes, or capturing this data? Because there are a lot of non-believers who think that arts and crafts do not belong in the contemporary art museum. So I was thinking maybe this feedback, which is showing immense impact on the health, mental health, on economical empowerment, will also kind of advocate for the case of how excellent this work that you are doing is. So it's basically like two questions. If what were the reactions, and how you are documenting the outcomes of your work.
Well, I mean, what are the reactions? I mean, this work, it's not very visible, so this is one thing. So maybe the problem is more like, why don't we do something more spectacular, or something that would, bring masses, which is impossible in doing it in this way. And the other comments would be, as I said, why would you do something like this? Why, because it's really like you make a community from the small, a very small, how one would say, not only activity, but also small group, that expands. So yes, I think that that this would be the answers, that when you want to reform, or you make difference, then you do it from very small initiatives, and you're doing from inside out, so that you start changing people also in your institution, which means that also some of our colleagues would come to some of the workshops, and then they would see how it is nice and relaxing that you can sit and talk, and what a change does it make also to yourself, in a way, or to your views. So this would be, so I think that this is, we are lucky, as you are not all so lucky as we are with this, so that we can still be very critical and politically active institution, so we are not sort of criticized from above, but we don't know what will happen in a year time when there will be elections, so that's what we try to do. We would try to at least take this position that we still have, and try to do as much as we can in influencing the public opinion of these sort of basic questions: what is right and what is wrong? Do we need to support people who are less fortunate, who are marginalized in society, and so on? And about the female feedback, we are a very small group, so we keep contact in a daily basis, So these are women, that that also participate in other programs. I don't know if you noticed, Etaf, one covered woman. She's from Palestine, and she's participating also in other workshops, in poetry workshops. She's sort of like, so I think that this is really important, that they feel that they are welcome, and that they can also, they use the museum also for their own for comforting them, especially at TAF, who there were she's from Gaza, and most of her family was killed there. So it's good that you can at least give some comfort to someone, who is really suffering this. So I think so. Yes, that's what maybe would be an answer. The stakeholders, we are a state institution. So, as I said, as long as ministry supports us, is fine. When they don't, when they stop doing, we will need to do something in a more hidden way. But I won't give up, So it will be maybe more sort of hidden or packed in a different wrap, or a different. I will find out, how to do it.
And thank you for that. And I encourage you to share your example. This year, the mental health and well-being and cultural heritage is a big topic. So, immediately you could contribute with documenting your example, because it's very relevant in contributing to well-being, not just of refugees and migrants, but of all the community who is participating. So I encourage you for more documentation and sharing, and thank you for this opportunity that you share your work. Thank you, Adela.
You're welcome.
Let's continue with our last presentation of today. We are very, very happy to have with us Iryna Stepanova. She will talk about maps, memory, and resilience, how she was working with the Ukrainian community in Bucharest. Iryna Stepanova is a cultural practitioner, educator, and a volunteer working with the Ukrainian refugee community in Bucharest. Since 2023, she has led creative workshops and guided tours at the National Museum of Maps and Old Books in Bucharest. She collaborated on projects with many associations. I will not try to read them, but her training includes different Erasmus Plus winter schools and many different programs for inclusive communication and cultural heritage promotion and protection. Iryna, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm so thankful for this opportunity to be here in such wonderful company. And now I'll try to share my screen. Do you see it?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So my name is Iryna. I'm from Odessa, Ukraine, and I'm interior designer. I used to be, and I hope I'm still. On March of 2022, I moved from Ukraine to Bucharest with my two sons because of the war. And I would like to say that it wasn't a planned city to stay for me, but I'm so happy that it's Bucharest. First place where I went in Bucharest in some days after we came was National Museum of Art in Bucharest. And it was a safe place and place where I can reconnect it with myself and feel calm and balance. So for me, museum is important place. Today, I would like to share with you about my work in museum at the Museum of Maps and Old Books in Bucharest. So, in February 2023, I visited this museum through the guided tour, and I was so inspired with this place. It's so beautiful and interesting, and the place where it's situated, it's also amazing. And I remember that feeling, that and that things, that thoughts that I thought, and I just feel that I would like to work here in this place. And maybe in 1 week, my friend called me and said, you know, they are looking for Ukrainian volunteers. So, of course, I went there. And since that, I'm volunteering, and I would like to thank to Iana Zamfir, museographer, who is running the project with volunteers, because there are not only Ukrainian ones. That she opened this museum world for me. And first of all, you can see it. We translated texts in the museum on the stands, and then we created workshop for Ukrainian community with maps, and started invited people, Ukrainian people, to the museum. Around the same time, I started to work on the project Open Museum, Open Hearts, where 4 museums were involved, also our museum of maps and books. And this project was for teenagers, refugees from Ukraine, where they collaborated with Romanian artists, and they create these sculptures. You can see them, and the first one from our museum. This project is so amazing, and I joined it somewhere in the middle, and I saw how children opened and feel relaxed, and I believe it's really very important. You can find some information of it. Also, I thanks to this museum, because during these activities, I also participated in different studies which museum created with different museums and collaborations. So it was really helpful for me. And this was my first trip with museum, with the Erasmus Plus program to Netherlands. And we study how to create guided tours for adults with I Ask method. It also was unbelievable for me. So after this trip, I created guided tour for Ukrainian community, and it wasn't easy. Thanks to Ioana, because she told me a lot of interesting information about maps. So I really like it. And there are some photos from my workshops with emotional mapping techniques. So we draw, we put some pins on the map, as you can see, colorful. We talk how people, for me, it was very interesting how people feel the city. In what place they can feel safe, what place where they can feel relaxed, where they usually meet with their friends, where they feel sad. So it's interesting, and the most interesting for me, because it's like long process for me, how people changed their mind, and almost all of them actually feel here like at home, like second home. I also participated in the street, how to say, street festival, And we created this tent also with maps about Bucharest, and it was so interesting how people interact, because it wasn't some small community and not only Ukrainians, and it was really pleasant time for me. We also create some workshops like a travel journal for teenagers, for Ukrainians. And I'm so glad when I can see this joy and smiles of kids without phones, without gadgets, when they just create and talk and communicate. This year, in February, we went with small group to Belgium, and we studied learning healing. It was about cultural heritage and well-being of refugee. As I'm refugee, for me it was really important to study, and I hope I can involve this study and knowledge in my work. These days, I just stopped to participate in a new project, Women Holding Women, where I forgot to say about Valentina Baku. She is also amazing woman. She is running NGO, and we collaborate a lot. So after our trip to Belgium, she created this project, and there are a lot of artists in Romania who are involved in this project. So Romanian and Ukrainian women can join and participate in different workshops. So mine was about, of course, travel journal at the museum. Also another space, Seneca Anti-Cafe. We talk about famous women who ruined stereotypes, who were famous scientists or sportsmen or poets. So it was really inspiring, and we shared between Romanian and Ukrainian women this inspiration and knowledge. And also it was another one workshop about poets where we try to interact between two cultures, because for me it's really very important, this connection. We are here for a long time, and it's obviously that we need to know about Romanian culture. And the last one, the next month, we will open at the museum Ukrainian reading corner. Not like Ukrainian, they already have with Romanian books in our museum, and this will be with Ukrainian books. And I'm so appreciated our team that they supported this, and I also prepared some activity for kids, because as you already said, it's not easy to interact with kids, so we need to prepare something really interesting for them. So I hope it will be good. Thank you for your support and attention.
Thank you very much, Iryna, for sharing your personal journey and experience. I also was deliberate. I mean, excuse me if you were not wanting to share your email, but I shared it in the chat with our participants. I wonder about other museums. Are there more museums in Romania that are also inviting Ukrainian volunteers? And I wonder about this two-way learning of cultures, because as you say, a community of Ukrainian refugees is learning about Romanian culture, but also the other way around. So this meeting point that is created. And so what are your future projects? Maybe, how do you see some sort of long-term programming for this meeting point of two cultures to sustain that, and to also maybe open up to other cultural groups and other refugee experiences?
As for museum, they have a lot of projects, not only with Ukrainian. Ukrainians, and I'm working at IT company, and all these activities and projects just like plus to my everyday activities. So unfortunately, I have a lot of time. Also, I have 2 teenagers at home, so I need to be mom. But it's that part of my life that inspire me and just take this emotion and drive me every day. Now I'm working on a new project. It's still not precisely. It was also for Ukrainians, I think, because I understand Romanian a lot, but still it's difficult. There are a lot of people who speak English, so it's the reason why I still cannot speak Romanian. And for these workshops where we collaborate with Romanians and Ukrainians, it's better to have a translator, of course. And for me, my dream to work in the project about cultural heritage, especially for kids and teenagers, because they are displaced and they need to connect with Ukraine. For me, it's very important. And also, we live in such wonderful country. Romania is amazing. I was really surprised when I can live here normal and understood how many museums, beautiful one, and a lot of galleries, and every weekend you have a lot of activities. So it's problem just to to feel boring here. You just need more time. So I'm open for collaboration, and I hope I can create this project about cultural heritage.
Thank you, Iryna. And we also hope that other ministries of culture will be inspired by Romanian examples and allow museums more resources to have programs like this to involve refugees and migrants and in a volunteering program and to use the space.
If I can say, please, just a moment, I would like to thanks to Christina Adam Toma. She's general manager of our museum, to Iana Zamfir, and all our team, and also Valentina Baku, because they are my, I don't know, angels in the world of museum and culture here. Thank you. And also you.
Yes. Christina is active member of the community and a member of the Balkan Museum Network. And everyone here who is present and who is not a member of the Balkan Museum Network, I invite you to join. Membership is free and it's open for individuals as well, not just institutions, which do not have to be public, can be also private civil society initiatives. Thank you everyone for being with us in this one inspiring hour. If you would like to share your own example, so among 28 present people, if you would also like to have 15 minutes for your online time to share results, get in touch, write to us. Balkan Museum Network is quite active on social media and the website. So follow and get in touch. And I again thank our speakers for sharing generously their experience, knowledge, lessons learned, methodologies, and I hope you also stay in touch. So thank you for everything and have a lovely rest of the day and rest of the week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.